We're we're live on YouTube. We're gonna need a bigger windmill. We're not even gonna fake like this isn't working. Like we've done literally every week up to this point. What we're gonna do is, ooh, I think we're in speaker view too. There we go. Now we're in gallery view. I bet it was just Randy's face to begin with. So surprise, we have a special guest and technology has not been our friend. This is week number 4 of we're gonna need a bigger windmill. As you can see, I'll tilt my screen, look what I'm wearing. If you look at what Pat's wearing, those are the official Randy Rice Holey Moley alumni fan club t-shirts that all of us got last year when we did Holey Moley out in California. So yeah, that's our special guest this week, Randy Rice. And Robin is telling me she's posting the link on Facebook on a couple of putts. So hopefully people can tune in over there. Sorry, I don't know what it is. We're not going to have a whole like hour about why Zoom pushing live to other platforms sucks, or StreamYard, or why
it should just
all
be a
this,
running
because
bit at this point that we have some
should
sort of
be.
technology problem. Like, it's basically our Stonehenge drummer dying.
It's like, yeah, it kind of is. It's like the internet just wants 3 white dudes talking about tech like all the time. But yes,
Better than talking about choking on vomit.
yes. So welcome, Randy Rice. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
Hanging up.
Holy moly.
Hanging up.
Holy moly, Tom, you sound not thrilled.
No,
Get psyched. This is what's the name of this episode again, Tom?
What is it again? This might be what is it? I think we just made history on Uranus.
You just made history on my anus?
Sorry.
Sorry.
We're gonna get kicked off YouTube.
Sorry.
On a serious note, to kick it off, just as a reminder, anybody out there that can and wants to support everything that's going on with all the movements out there, I strongly recommend checking out Black Visions and Reclaim the Block, 2 organizations out of Minneapolis doing a lot of really great work on justice reform. And also wanted to wish you both a happy Loving Day. Which you may or may not know is that in 1967, the United States Supreme Court decision Loving versus Virginia happened, and it struck down all anti-miscegenation laws in the remaining US states. If you can believe it, in 1967, it was not allowed or legal for mixed couples to get married, which is totally messed up, but it is now, and we have wonderful couples in the world because of it. So just wanted to kick things off with that. We're going to be a bigger windmill. I'm Mr. T, Tom, from a couple putts. Over here.
From the Putting Penguin.
Down there, depending on your orientation.
Definitely down there.
Is Randy, and we're going to chat with him about all of the awesome things that he does in the world. But we're going to kick right into our recap of episode 4 of Holey Moley, which we've already mentioned the name. As we're like trying to get back on track, we know the name of it. And we are going to start with the first hole. I'm not going to do the audio thing this week because Robin didn't like it. Maybe we'll do it next week. We start with the first hole, putter ducky, and Pat's going to kick it off.
All right, so the second time I think we've seen putter ducky this season, probably one of the more simplistic holes. Putt it past the giant rubber ducks and then try to run past it and not get knocked into the waters. So we had Saeed, a bartender, with a just absolutely fabulous mohawk, going up against Dean, who we didn't really know a whole lot about, I guess purposely, because he may or may not have been a man in black, just playing mini golf. There was a lot of secrecy shrouding our good friend Dean. Hell of an outfit, though. Really liked it.
Great hat.
Yeah, great hat. Who knows what was under it? Could have been aliens. Dean started us off the episode. Great first putt. almost made it past the duck before getting knocked in. And then Saeed had an equally good putt and unbelievably got past the ducks. He blew past the first one, threw on the brakes, waited it out. He, as either Riggle or Tessitore pointed out, he had this like really nice like bouncing Muhammad Ali like light on his feet, and then bam, went through it. And with not incurring the stroke penalty, he definitely had the advantage there and put it away. And he was our first person to roll into round 2, which brought up our next matchup of the night, one of our personal favorite holes.
A hole that Pat knows well, although 3 feet longer, albeit, is the Distractor. This week, our competitors, Mae Brennan from Utah, born in Japan and threw in a little bit of Japanese in her intro, is an Instagram influencer and golfer, and a heck of a golfer, against Nico, who is a beatboxer who I believe is from California. Their distraction was a drum line, and they had cymbals crashing in their ears like 2 feet away while they were trying to make a 12-foot putt. And remarkably, Mae makes her first kind of like lips around the cup and makes a straight on 12-foot putt. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that sucks, Nico. And then Nico makes it like dead center. It was like, wow, like that's crazy. That is like an impossible putt to make with that kind of pressure. He was just like nonchalant. There's only one person who's matched to date.
Yeah, I was gonna say Laurel last year, right?
Laurel's the only other person, and later in the show, I actually have a little tidbit doing a little deep dive on the Distractor. But yeah, next putt up, Mae knocks it in. Nico takes another shot, comes up just a little short, and Mae moves on to the next round. Just 2 putts in a row on the Distractor, 12 feet in, with like a marching band. Like that one's like legitimately like loud and annoying and nonstop. So yeah, we move to our 3rd hole of the night, where we have the duo from Chicago on Water Hazard, a hole that Randy might be familiar with.
I am very familiar with it. And by the way, before I even get into tonight's performance on the hole, I want to give production a shout out for acknowledging the repurposing of the hole, because that's the kind of thing that goes over a lot of people's heads, especially if it's not called out. And I mean, it's becoming a theme that this show is calling itself out, and that's, you know, it's part of the gag. It's in on the gag, and they want you to know. And I think it's working splendidly this season. So props to production on that decision. So as Tom said, and as Joe said, this is a repurposed hole from last year that I played non-splendidly, mind you, for me. Now, so we've got Skylar and Spencer, the twins. Now, I have something in common with these guys. We are denizens of reality television, right? I have seen Skylar and Spencer on VH1, had a competition series that featured a cast of entirely sets of twins. They were also on Worst Cooks in America on the Food Network, these twins. They've made the rounds, and for good reason. They're really entertaining. So Skylar's able to get it over the water and land on the green, like I couldn't. I did more of a Spencer, I have to tell you. I took a plunk, but it was much easier last year to get over the bridge, which was about 18 inches wide. No water cannons. The twins were spectacular in their dismounts. I appreciated the fact that one went to the left, one went to the right. I like that variety.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to appreciate the gumption, don't you? I mean, they both took a real hard run at it, whether that was a good idea or not.
Yeah, they definitely knew what their options were.
Right. So then I want to talk about Spencer. I know I'm running over my time, Tom. I'm so sorry.
No, please. This is why we have you on.
So Spencer has to take a shot from the drop zone because he landed in the water, right? How in the world did Spencer completely hop that giant patch of sand with a putter? I would like to know. Because I had an issue with the sand last year. I hit it about 1,000 miles an hour out of the sand because I thought the sand would slow it down. Turned out to be some kind of frictionless sand. And it didn't work out well for me. So
it was shallow last year, by the way.
What?
That sand was super shallow.
Yes.
Super deceiving, and hitting out of it was. And if you saw anybody do it, they were probably thinking they were hitting out of a normal sand trap. Not the case.
Right. It didn't affect speed very much, and it didn't affect trajectory at all. Hitting out of the sand last year. This year, it's much chunkier. There's a lot of sand on the course. So, I mean, wise choice to float it. I don't know how he did it, but great choice. Didn't work out. I thought it was weird because he hit it 1,000 miles an hour from the other side when he had a straight putt, no sand. He, I think, way too much heat on it, and he gave Skylar the easy win. So Skylar moves on to round 2. Who could tell anyway, though?
Wait, I thought it was Spencer.
Yes, it was Spyler. So this, I have to say, I love. Oh my gosh, Tom!
Running gag.
I loved the solidarity dive at the end. By the way, that was really fun to watch the guys just take the plunge.
That seems to be
they know what
that's
why they've ended up on 3 or 4 or 5 reality shows. They know what the people want. People want.
I will say
when you got 2 big old guys on the green, right?
I will say last year, I like the first person. It was very out of order, but last year Tanner did that with Sadie. They were the first ones to do it of the night, and then Bob. But I had thrown that out there, and I was just like, no. I'm too nervous like playing this hole, and I know I'm not going to do good. You do whatever you want. Like, you know, you can jump in the water. Like, I'm not going to do it, but I kind of want to go in the water. I mean, fortunately, I went in the water anyways.
At that point, for
so I got my wish.
So they've already been in the water, so it was a little bit different than last year, where most people didn't take that dive.
There was a little bit of a hesitation too, by the way. They looked like they had timed it out, and then it was like you could see one of them, like, you know, Spencer, like just like paused, and yeah. So
did you say Spencer?
So Spencer moved on to the next round, and now we're on to hole number 2, where we have Kendra, a retired golf pro. I thought one part of the episode they said she was 35, and another that they said she was 55. She seemed ageless. She was pretty solid. I couldn't tell. She had a really amazing polka dot scarf that my wife Robin called out that was super awesome, and she was going up against, and I wanted to say a different name, but it's Hannah from Florida, who said that she was an aspiring golfer that had won 70 tournaments.
And she's like aspiring?
It's just like aspiring.
But I was also like 70 tournaments by the time you're 20. First of all, you're either Tiger Woods or you're counting tournaments like my local Farmington mini golf tournament on your resume.
Yes, she's definitely counting those tournaments.
But that's fine. If you played in 70 tournaments,
I would.
That means you played in one a week for the last year plus. That's crazy. But anyway, so Hannah and Kendra are going on hole number 2. Porta Johns, narrow ridge that they need to putt by. If they go to the right, they're going to get close to the cup. If they go to the left, they're going to get stuck between some bumpers. They go into the water. They're in a drop zone, or not behind bumpers, behind these little swales. Hannah goes first, tries to make it ends up bumping off to the left, only over the one ridge. It's got an okay shot at the cup. One of the only bailouts this year was trying to run by the Porta Johns and just like called it a day. Like they could feel the pressure and just jumped in. So Hannah was soaked, and she was just, a little away, like from the cup. And then Kendra gets up, first person to play it kind of lightly off one of the end of the Porta Johns down the end, puts it to the right of the little marker for the restrooms, gets it a couple feet from the cup, and then flies by all the Porta Johns and is our first competitor that doesn't get the stroke penalty. So she's putting for 2, and Hannah's got a 3. Hannah hits it, runs it too far past the cup. But what I noticed for the first time is that there's a little ridge, like upwards ridge on the back side of that hole, that if you had played it really soft, you could actually get it to come back towards the cup a little bit. Hannah was not that lucky, went back to the drop zone again. Kendra just needed to make 2 putts from about 8 feet out for a 3. She came like within an inch on the first, tapped it in. As she said, it's okay. Kendra moves on to the second round. First putt was amazing. Run was even more amazing. Hole number 2, 4 weeks in a row for 4 episodes. So it looks like this is going to be a regular. Thank God I worked for an employer that had leftover signs and didn't have a hole 1. So I have these sitting around to use every week. And we go on to round 2. And I guess we started off right away back with Kendra. And I'm going to let Randy take on this hole because this is another familiar foe.
All right. So slip and putt is a fickle mistress, right? The physical challenge part, what's unique about this hole is that the physical part, well, kind of like you guys will fill me in, but the bull riding hole, most of the holes have the physical part in the middle after the first putt. So this is one of those more unique holes where you've got to do the work first. And that is disadvantageous for some people, speaking from experience. Although I will say, Saeed had, he has the perfect physical apparatus for this kind of hole. It's like Usain Bolt. It's like he's just built for it. And there's no way he was gonna not make it up that on the first try, I don't think. Although I will say, I think there was a lot less glycerin this year than there was last year. But that's another production shout out. It wasted a lot of time waiting for people to get up that to get up that hill last year. Right? Did you guys, Tom?
Yeah, last year, Jordan, who I played, flew up. He did the same as like Nick did. Literally didn't break a stride. I didn't actually fall on the way up at all, and like did okay. But I feel like, yeah, like it was just like crazy. Like I was like, I didn't do that bad, and the other guy just like didn't break stride. He high-fived his mom on the way up. His mom was like watching it. He just like, I was like, that's super baller. I hope they show that.
I don't know what took me longer, amount of times trying to go up slip and putt or amount of putts missed on distractor last year, because there was probably equal amount of almost in the double digits on both of them.
All right, so Saeed gets up first, yes, and Kendra didn't do too bad of a job, just wasn't first. I thought that, I mean, she misjudged pretty greatly the speed that required for that first shot. That's doable to get between the polar bear's legs in the first shot. Totally, if you catch the angle right and the speed right. I think she grossly misjudged speed, but she got lucky on her lie for the second shot, big time. As far as Saeed's first shot, I am going to go ahead and say, aside, okay, we'll get to the OB, but I'm going to say I think that's not a good. That's not super advantageous, being up on that off-angled raised platform. I don't know that, I mean, it's not as good as a straight shot for sure.
No.
And that maybe that's what threw him off. But so he hits a rocket that goes straight out of bounds into the crowd. And then my favorite part is our good friend Saeed, the only man on Holey Moley with hair better than mine, learns nothing. And he hits a second shot, also maybe not 100 miles an hour, maybe 96. And it doesn't go well. It hits into the wall. It's a pretty straight shot. You should be tapping it, kissing it off the wall maybe before the legs, and then having it come down straight towards the hole, off the back wall or not, doesn't matter. Just to get a good lie for your layup. And he did not. I don't know if it was nerves or adrenaline or what, because we all know, we've been there. Those things can take a hold of you, but Saeed did not get the memo after the first try. So he hits another rocket and he gets another bad lie. And Kendra's got the easy play. I mean, she played it rough in the beginning, but she did learn from the first shot. She gave herself a good lie on the layup to the hole, and she sunk it, and she moves on.
And the irony of it is he left his shot to tie short. After hitting a 50-yard chip for a 4-foot putt, he
after a pair of Elon Musk SpaceX rockets, this guy gives a little Happy Gilmore tapper, except he doesn't have a million tries. He doesn't have the cushion.
And good for Riggle and them for calling it out, because this is why every single one of my shots on Distractor blew by. I was not leaving it short on national television.
One other thing that I didn't put in my notes, I wanted to call it out right now. Kendra did not realize she had won. Like, look at her face after Saeed missed. She's just like, oh, and then all of a sudden she's just like, oh, I won. It's like,
let's put a pin on understated excitement of this episode, because I want to talk about on the final hole.
You can't see it.
Yes.
Kendra's surprise at winning.
Yeah.
You can't see it. That's right.
The next hole is, I believe it's Go For It, and that's Pat, because you haven't done Go For It yet, right?
No, I don't think I did. This is only the second time we've seen it.
Yes, correct.
So we had May and Skylar going up, and this time around, I finally realized, especially on this hole, because it's the only hole we have seen Tessitore and Riggle interact with the contestants because of the way they are compared to where it's set up. And it absolutely reminded me of Bob Uecker and his sidekick from Major League. Like, their commentary is absolutely exactly the same. And I was like, man, that's why I love this. But anyways, it's May and Skylar. They go up. Skylar gets the first crack at the bull. And I literally do not know how he could have only stayed on for 1 second. Like, I just, like, physics and the theory of time and everything should have allowed him like 1 point whatever seconds on that. And he was off the bull in one. So, I mean, it was almost impossible for May to do worse than that. And she blew it away. I mean, I think she jumped off at like 6 seconds, whatever, but it literally didn't matter. She had the better position. So for the folks who haven't, for some reason, really paid attention, you do the bull ride and then you go down and kind of play a nice, fun, like whack-a-mole mini golf crossover, which actually looks like a hole that I could almost imagine seeing on a regular mini golf course. Logistics of hitting the ball into the gopher hole aside, because that was the thing I thought of the first week and then got to see it happen this week after Skylar went. So May was first up, had the better position, less gophers to go through, and had a good line, but she rocketed her shot as well, way deep. Which it just absolutely didn't matter. As Riggle said, we all thought that the 1 second bull ride was going to be the worst part of Skylar's hole, and it was absolutely not. He hit his first shot into the final gopher, so the gopher ate that. So he went back to the tee, hit the second shot out of bounds. So our second out of bounds in one episode, which I don't think we've seen, other than put surf and turf and stuff aside.
Yeah.
Have we ever seen an out of bounds shot on Holey Moley?
No.
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 Did they not show any of them on Dutch Courage last year? Some people went out. Didn't
Oh,
Javon
that's
go
right.
out against
They may
Robin?
have
Oh
showed
yeah,
it.
Like,
well, but those were the people who were drowning alive and taking a 15 on the hole. That
So let's say
yeah,
we have
yeah,
not
yeah,
seen
yeah.
an out of bounds shot make it worthy of the television cut of Holey Moley, and we got
Yeah.
back to back holes where it went out this year. So by that point, it was pretty much over. He finally saddled up. May basically did the Happy Gilmore tap it in,
she did.
which, I mean, honestly, like, having been in that position on slip and putt last year, where I literally could have taken a 10 and I think gotten to the hole and been okay. Smart move, like, just you're
Yeah.
just don't screw it up.
Right. Well, doesn't that make you look like less of an idiot than losing with that cushion?
Exactly. Like, if you had
Yeah.
blown it by and you started doing that back and forth thing, you would. So just, all right, fine, you missed it, you rolled it in, and May became our second finalist. Moving on.
Yeah, you don't want to pull up a Michael Glauser from last year on
Yes.
on a slip and putt who missed three putts within like
Oh no.
2 feet of the cup. Yeah. So I mean, that's your example. But yeah, Pat,
Well,
keep
the thing
going.
is, he's the guy, dude.
Yeah, he
And
is the guy, dude.
it is the guy, dude. And we are on to a new hole this week, which I think has just got the most endless amount of fun that we could possibly have with our 12-year-old selves in the world.
Thank you so much for having me on this episode. I love
It is the Simply Put Uranus. And I think we're going to have our esteemed guest get us started off with going into the intricacies of Uranus.
Well, I want to start by saying it is much more difficult to get a ball up Uranus and into the hole than it looks. It is. It's true. But so May comes along. Off of two putts made on the distractor, right? She's feeling hot, looking good, and she comes in round 3 and sinks the absolute most improbable ace you could sink. A lot of these, if they're aceable, you're going to see it happen, like on Putter Ducky. That's not too tricky to do. I think it's but something like this, when you have to gauge a steep slope like that upward, and to get it around the horn at the right speed, get it in that little channel, I mean, that alone is insanely difficult to do. Much harder than it looks, all jokes aside. Now, not everybody leaves a lead pipe on the green overnight, right? And leaves a guaranteed channel to the hole. Some golf courses do that. Some mini golf courses do that. Right. Most don't. So she gets the absolute luckiest break ever and looks like the best Holey Moley contestant ever after 2 distractor sinks. She comes in, 1 shot, 1 kill on Uranus. And she's in the hole, and now, I mean, it's up to poor Kendra. I mean, can you imagine, either of you, going up against we've seen it before. We've seen a hole in one on Putter Ducky, right? I mean,
but it was after. It was
right.
after the other person got to go, even.
Right. So in this, can you imagine having to go after you see on a course like this, under circumstances like this, all that pressure for the vast majority of people? This is your 15 seconds of fame, and it comes down, which is a great way to get out of conversations about it. Did you win? No. Why not? Well,
Well, I have a problem with Uranus.
Right. I just couldn't get it in my anus. Uranus. So she sinks this ace, and Kendra is just, I mean, completely defeated before she even steps up to the ball. But She takes a great putt. She also, as improbably, gets it in that little tiny channel at the end of the rings into that little funnel that sends you towards the hole, and she just catches a bad break. I mean, this could have been the most exciting finish to an episode of Holey Moley that there has ever been, or maybe would ever be. This, I mean, 2 aces on the final hole of an episode. That is outrageous. And it almost happened. It was just luck of the draw. You know, we know how it is. It's how were the fibers laying? You know, who stepped on it? How dry was it? How wet was it? Just those tiny, minuscule details that you cannot control. And that is mini golf in a nutshell. So
100%.
So
Yep.
by the fate of the gods of mini golf, Kendra is out and May is in. Although you have to say, I think, I don't know if you guys agree, May put on quite a show. She put on a Holey Moley clinic as best one could. And if you're asking me, 4 episodes deep, if you had to ask me to put money on someone in the finale, I'm putting money on May.
You're jumping ahead of the question.
Say, put a pin on that though, because I got some thoughts on that.
Done.
So this structure, because you could see it in the background of other episodes, and I think Morris and Karen had like alluded to it last episode really briefly. They mentioned Uranus, so like people knew it was there. You can see things on set from afar, and there's 2 things that really fascinating to me finally seeing this was, one, the channel wasn't really obvious at the end there, and I'm curious how it comes down without going down that channel. But I'm also curious what happens is if you gun it too much, can you get it stuck? Like if you're looking at my behind me, can you get it stuck on the lower tier? And what does that look like? Because like that was like my thing. It's like, because it looks a lot like the Arc de Tree Golf last year. And, like that was just the arc. So you could only go one way. But this one, in theory, is like one of the first holes where you can like loop it right back to yourself, right? I mean, in theory.
Right. Right. It looks like it. I mean, it's wide open on both sides of that bottom section.
Right.
I think that's a question for everybody's favorite and most adept Holey Moley decision maker, course marshal Joe.
Yes. And the other thing, like it was great seeing this, and it was cool seeing an ace, but no one got to jump on the planets.
Right. So we don't know how that
I think
plays.
I don't know if they're like rubber bouncy balls, like Wipeout style, if they're kind of like that shark on Putt the Plank that seems like a pretty like durable, like heavy rubber, like I mean, it's exciting though, because I think we've by and large seen all the holes. I went to like the Wikipedia page and they're like, there's 18 holes of the season. And I like counted them down and I'm like, there's 17 on that list, including some final episode things. So I'm like, there's something maybe else coming, but knowing that this is like one of the few holes that we have left that we haven't seen, it's like, I'm kind of excited to see what happens when we get to those planets. But yeah.
Which leads to a question. And this was a question that we didn't really talk about when we had the putter ducky ace. I like that it gets you past, like the ace basically gets you the free pass on it, but would it be more exciting if they still had to do the physical challenge and potentially get the penalty stroke on top of it?
Well, all right. I think the design of this hole, another production shout out, not only for repurposing a set piece from last season, because if you gave me time, I'd give 100 compliments to production on all of the great changes they've made, and all of the great budget saving kind of technical things that they've done too that nobody cares about. But this hole is brilliantly designed in that whether the players play it well or not, this is going to be an interesting hole to watch. It doesn't matter. Now, competitively, sure, if somebody gets it in that little funnel toward the hole and the other person doesn't, and they have to go over the planets, I mean, that person's screwed, totally screwed, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, we've seen two people play it and they both got it in that little space. So maybe it's easier than it looks once you get it over the hump. I don't know. I mean, but I think it's kind of a foolproof design that even if one person gets it and the other doesn't, right, you at least get the entertainment of watching the other person eat it on the planets or attempt or the joy of watching them somehow beat the planets, you know. I mean, I think it's a win-win.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be an exciting one to see for the rest of the season, and yeah, I'll be interested to see if there's anybody else that comes close to an ace, because it's crazy if there were the only two. Because if you remember last year, there were a couple people in the arc that were so close to getting an ace, and there was literally none, you know, in all 10 episodes last season. And there's more competitors last season. There's literally been in the first 4 episodes 2 aces, and like, spoiler alert, there was like a commercial where you saw someone get excited and jump up that wasn't one of those 2 aces. So you're like, okay, so there's, who knows how many there are to come, but you know, like, I'd be surprised if there's that many more on each of these holes, but maybe we'll find out that this was way easier, but it's going to be super interesting.
Here's where we need to talk about this. Can maybe just slightly more excited?
Yes.
Like, this isn't a act like you've been there before style, like hole in one, like, you know, we may play on the Masters or something where you're shooting many of these. If I got that ace, I would have high-fived every single person in the audience, production, the planets. Like, it was just like, what? And then like and alternately, if I was Kendra and I missed that ace, like, I would have the same level of enthusiasm. Like, I probably would have thrown myself in the water at that point. Like, right, like that's just what you do at that point. And I was like, oh, great for you guys, but like, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. But we know this, so if this is too inside baseball, let me know. But so we know from all the folks we met, you, Pat, I'm talking to specifically now, from last year. Tom, you have the distinct advantage of knowing, you know, maybe more people than that. But so we know how difficult it is. We've been through the casting process. You know how difficult it is to find people who are good television and good golfers and good mini golfers. Mini golf and golf are different, by the way. We know that, but it's worth repeating, I think, because, and I felt that a lot in this episode, because like May's, was it May, her overshot on putter ducky, or on go for it. Sorry. You know, not knowing how to play an incline like that after winning 70 golf tournaments, that is so indicative of the difference between golf and mini golf. I mean, it doesn't necessarily equate. What also doesn't equate is the demeanor of a golfer versus a mini golfer. It's a different environment. Because while tournaments like we might play in might be pretty serious and pretty, almost not somber is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Everybody's focused. But mini golf in general is a game of silliness and fun and joy. And golf is, it doesn't have that vibe. And I thought that came through a lot in that May is great at putting, but not an interesting, you know, not a super interesting TV character. She's obviously not a mini golfer.
And I guess that would hold true for Kendra too, who had a bit more personality in the
She did.
first hole, but like also a golfer, and that is a very good point. They tend to be a little bit more demure about their
That's the
excitement.
word.
And yeah, so tip to season 3 contestants, should we have those, freaking be exciting when you get a hole in one.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I think we talked about this when Rob was on the second episode when we were talking about hole in ones. Like, is that ever not exciting? No. I mean, I've played rounds where I've gotten 10 plus aces, and every single one of those is exciting. It never gets boring.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So our advice then for season 3 contestants or prospective contestants should be, if you're a golfer, drink a dang Red Bull before you're casting and before you play. And if you're a mini golfer or just a character, we'll learn to putt.
Yeah.
No, it's not inspired to golfers. I like to golf, but I also like to golf like interestingly.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps us up.
So that's our episode.
Yep. So
Episode 4.
Episode 4, which means we get to take a break now before we go back into the episode and talk a little bit with our esteemed guest, Mr. Randy Rice. Tom, I don't know. Do you want to kick us off? I can get us started. How do you want to do this today?
Well, if you want a little bit extra backstory, you can swing by a couple of putts we put up, like a little bit. I linked to a new review that had photos of all of us playing on Holey Moley the day after we lost, and some other backstory of kind of the adventures of April 11th, 2019. A very long day and sad day, and a very fun day of mini golf. But yeah, we all met out in California before seeing a mini golf course that none of us could have ever believed existed in the world. And
Randy and I knew each other.
Yes.
Previous to that, we were the only two, obviously, other than you and your wife, that knew each other coming out to this. So I was trying to think, right, how long has it actually been? What was your first? We met famously, and if, for the folks who don't recognize this because it's not Holey Moley, is Dolphin Mini Golf up in Booth Bay, Maine, home of the 2008 U.S. Open and home of the yearly, used to be Maine State, but now is the Lee Stoddard Maine State Open. One of the absolute best old school, perfectly New England themed miniature golf courses that you will ever see in your life. Handmade by Mr. Stoddard, who unfortunately passed away in 2018 and will be missed. But when was your first tournament there?
2007. And not only was that my first tournament there, that tournament there was my first ever mini golf tournament. In 2007.
I think I started in 2006, and eventually we both became winners of said
Yes.
tournament. So mine was 2016, and what, yours was 2018, right?
Yes. So it took me 1 year longer total than you to figure it out.
So we've got a long history in that, and I think Randy, obviously we just covered some of the mini golf stuff, but you made some allusions to being a reality person. But how about you fill us in a little bit about your entertainment career and where people may have seen you from before, other than Holey?
Well, whether or not people may have seen it is debatable, but some other things that I've done, I did in 2011, I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire when Meredith Vieira was hosting. She cut off my ponytail on television. That was so weird. Very shortly thereafter, I lost and went home with nothing. For those wondering how it went. That's always the question. How much money did you win? None. I was then on a short-lived game show called the Million Second Quiz that was hosted by Ryan Seacrest on the roof of a building in Manhattan. A million seconds is about 11 days for those keeping track. And I spent about a week in a hole, taking practice tests and doing weird casting stuff. I was also on a show on the History Channel. That's where people are most likely to have actually seen me before. I had a 12-episode series on the History Channel called Smartest Guy in the Room. I did much better there, but there was no prize. So in all of my forays into television, I have won $0. Spent a few hours on television, got nothing to show for it. If anyone, parents out there, if I may, who are trying to figure out what to do with their kids right now, I'm a teacher's assistant in New York City schools. For those of you trying to figure out what you should be doing with your kids, Smartest Guy in the Room, if you can find it somewhere, is a great thing to have them watch. It's got a lot of STEAM type challenges, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. A lot of puzzle solving and construction and building things. So it was a show where we challenged each other to these puzzly, construction-y challenges, and it was a lot of fun. And I did much better there.
And you brought mini golf to that show.
I did. I actually, that's right. This Holey Moley is the second time I played mini golf on television. I extended a challenge to my two castmates on Smartest Guy in the Room to design and construct, with the help of professionals, a mini golf hole that I could not ace. The only rule being that it had to be possible to ace. Like they couldn't put the tee in a closed box or something like that. But again, I did much better there than I did on Holey Moley.
Well, and I think that's like a part of the reason why we're having a lot of people who played on the show like us come on and talk about their experiences, because I think a lot of people see it on TV and they're just like, oh yeah, I can't believe they missed that putt. And it's sort of well-worn territory now. Like you can find media pieces about it, that this is all being done at night, which means in order to shoot all this stuff at night, at the earliest you're playing is 9, and in our cases, all of us played on the other side of 1 a.m. numerous times. And that's no small feat. Like when you're talking about a single hole with stakes that you can't make any mistakes because you're going home. If you play like a round of 18, you can flub a hole or two and still come back from it. Like there's little room for error. So I mean, if you watch both of these seasons so far, there are people who are pro golfers that are getting beat by just average people, who hit a ball because you never know what happens.
That's the pressure of TV, and that's mini golf. Anybody can beat anybody at mini golf, especially the shorter the contest, the more possibility there is for anybody to win.
And that's what's so great about it. That's the best part about the game, is that anybody can play it, anybody can feel successful, and there's a lot of like the really good mini golf courses have a sense of luck or chance. I remember when Robin and I first started playing and documenting our adventures, we played a place called Duffers on the Jersey Shore that's got these animatronic pelicans that I'm sure the O Street guys know exactly what I'm talking about right now. I think Rudy from O Street worked across the street, and there were some kids in front of us in the group that they were just hacking at the ball. They had 7 hole-in-ones, and we did okay, but it was what? But we've all been out to courses and that's happened. And that's the great thing about mini golf, is that the stakes are really low and you have to move on, versus golf where it's the stakes feel always really hot because you probably got people trailing behind you and you're really dragging, and it's lots of people with money that are annoying and entitled that want things to happen in a certain way, all sorts of things about golf. But yeah, but that's but I'm curious, Randy, I know Robin and I came into the game from immersive experiences and our first date, but how did you come in at the game? Where was your entry point?
To mini golf?
Yeah. To Holey Moley.
Oh, to,
Well, to mini golf. Well, and you mentioned, playing
Yeah.
your first tournament up here. I mean, right, like Tom said, like before I played tournaments, I'd already started working on the website. I had done this, and I got exposed to tournaments.
right.
What was your glide path up into that level?
So in a Holey Moley type of scope, my path was more of a character path. I had played, everybody's played mini golf forever since they were a kid. Everybody's gone once or twice at least. But it was right around that time, Pat, in like 2007, when that summer it was just a perfect storm of circumstances where some friends and I were looking for something to do. We went and played mini golf once, and it was kind of like a non-filmed version of what O Street does. For anyone watching who knows O Street mini golf, it was sort of like, imagine watching Monday Night Raw during the Attitude Era of WWFE. It was like that, but mini golf. It was just fun, trash talking, and competition. And the nature of mini golf lends itself to the fact that anybody can do well, especially over 18 holes. Fun things happen, crazy things happen. And it was just the right mix of characters from one round of mini golf. And we were all hooked. We made a league. We created a championship belt that I'm going to show you because I'm proud of it. We had this, we had record keepers, stat keepers. So we spent a summer just having fun on mini golf courses wherever we could find them, and we figured some other idiots had to be doing the same thing. So we Googled mini golf tournaments, and the first one I found, Pat, was the Maine State Dolphin Open, and three of us, which was half the league, were like, "There's no way we're not going to that." And once we went, and we realized that it was like being inside, like waiting for Guffman, but mini golf, or a Mighty Wind, or Best in Show. It is that. If anyone is wondering if they should go to a mini golf tournament, if you've seen those movies and you like them, then you should go meet the characters at a mini golf tournament. And we were hooked. Between the fun of the game, the way we played it, and the intensity and the competition and the reward of playing competitively against other people who are actually taking it seriously. We had sort of a dual level respect for the game, which I know, to any of you out there watching who are still watching, who don't get mini golf, that's the draw. It can be anything you want, and that can be from one game to the next in the matter of a half an hour. It can completely change what it is, what the game is, what the stakes are, and going to one tournament helped us see that, and we couldn't stop. I couldn't stop, and here we are 13 years later, and I'm talking to you jokers about televised mini golf. I mean, what a world.
It is crazy to imagine that there's like a televised version of the game that I think we had all kind of had hoped could exist. That's a little bit less, like, using Pat's word again, demure, and more like kind of extra, and that we all got to like do it. And the funny thing is because all of us lost by the end of the second round when everything was airing, we kind of didn't know how things were going to shake out with the episodes. And there was 5 of us in our group that, I'd mentioned earlier on our website, that we all played the day after we lost. And 5 of us somehow, some way, did not end up on any of each other's episodes, which is just like the craziest thing. Like, we could have easily been competitors. We obviously crossed paths numerous different ways and nights, but we never had to play each other, which was just such like a, I don't know, there was something wild about that. And I think for me, that's like, I think being on Holey Moley is what actually was the first thing that got me interested in competitive mini golf, because up to that point it had seemed like a little bit, it had been missing something that would make me want to go travel for it. And I think you guys were the ones who are like, let's go to the Masters in Myrtle Beach. And it's like, well, I've been meaning to go to Myrtle Beach. It seemed weird to go there first time and go in this tournament, which I didn't, but I ended up like totally wanting to go back and do it at some point. It just seemed like an interesting thing to do, but ended up playing a lot of mini golf anyways, which eventually will get up in reviews on the site. There's so many courses in Myrtle Beach and we played a lot. And Randy won all those rounds. And I did not. So if you're wondering, if you're wondering like competitively, like, you know, like what Holey Moley tells about people's level of play, it's like, it doesn't tell you anything. There's people that won episodes that would come in dead last in the Masters, and there's people that lost in the first round in episodes of Holey Moley that rightfully should have went further. I mean, this season, there's definitely people where I'm like, boy, they really lucked out playing this person, or vice versa. Like,
oh yes,
you know, just like dumb, you know, like dumb luck. Like, I mean, maybe that Hannah girl was like, you know, not necessarily like being honest about all the tournaments that she played in, but like the first round you're playing against someone who's a former professional golfer and you played in 70 tournaments, and then you had those like twins on another hole who couldn't find like the broadside of a barn with their putter. Like, I mean, they were so, yeah. I mean, maybe, I mean, I feel like
some of us have luck
us,
like that. Like some of us who are wearing the hats that are on other people's shirts had luck like that our first time around on Holey Moley season 1. You know, I mean, like by all accounts, I should have done better on Holey Moley, right? But it just, the environment alone, aside from the pressure of television and all those other things, I mean, it kind of doesn't matter. It's luck. A lot of it is luck of the draw, and a lot of it doesn't even matter if you get a good or bad draw. Anybody, like we saw tonight or last night, can have a lucky break.
You don't, yeah,
And
and you don't get any practice on the holes or anything. I mean, you know, our friend
Right.
Robin's probably the most extreme example of this, right? Like,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
she played slip and putt from the worst position, made an absolutely unbelievable 3-bank down the hole, and then lost on teed off, which was a 4-foot putt, and then 2 months later gets crowned a gold medal as the best female adventure golfer in the world. Like, so you can't
Right.
judge any of that,
Right.
you know, based on, and that's what makes Holey Moley fun. And that's you know, to your point, Randy, you talked a little bit about like each round's different and you can do stuff half hour apart. And I think like on Holey Moley, we definitely showed that, where we were saying like we all lost and then immediately went to play mini golf under a different set of circumstances. I go down and play the Masters. I mean, like this year, play whatever 3, 4, 5 of those rounds a day and then a half hour later we're out hacking around on Professor Hackers shooting stuff with O Street, and it's like same game, you know, 10 blocks apart, completely different stakes, completely different way of addressing it, and both are perfectly valid.
Absolutely. On that note, I know we're not necessarily abundant of time, but if I could, for anybody, I would imagine some of the people watching, whether now or as a replay, would be Holey Moley contestants from this episode or another. I would just love, as a person who's had a little more TV experience than just Holey Moley, I have something to say to those people who are on this season or were on last season. I know that, you know, we get it, but I really don't take it too hard. If you didn't do well on Holey Moley, it is not the end of your life. It is a huge thing in your life. It is, especially if you've never done television, and if you never do it again, it is a huge moment in your life. It does not define your life. Hear me, please. Contestants past, present, and future of Holey Moley. It does not define your life if you don't do well on Holey Moley. It is a fun show. Nobody holds it against you if you don't do well. It's a game at the end of the day. Mini golf, whether it's for fun in a tournament on television, it's supposed to be fun. If you had fun, then you did it right, and you have nothing to worry about and nothing to answer for. So those of you who may have had a less than a prime experience and went out with maybe no pomp and circumstance, or maybe went out ungloriously, please, not the end of the world. It's a TV show. It's mini golf. You're good. You made it onto a television show that thousands applied to and 100 got onto. And you were one of those people that production and whoever else thought you were someone we would like people to see. So take the value of that and run with it and take it wherever it leads you.
About 4 million people a week saw you, which not a
Yeah.
lot of people can
Yeah.
say have ever had that happen to them.
Yeah.
And guess what?
It's
People outside of your life, people in your life will know that this is a big thing for you. Everybody else, no one will ever know. You don't have to like walk around with guilt or shame or anything, because people do. And not just on this show, but on a lot of reality shows. You know, it's a tough thing mentally, but you're good. It's television. Don't worry about it.
I have to say, like, even on my episode, like watching it air, I felt even more like oh, like I did as good as I could after seeing my finale, where like two people two putted to go into a playoff, and that the person who didn't two putt was the guy that beat me, who's like literally posting golf videos every day of like him teaching people. You're like, I've played this game passively and for fun for a handful of years. If I would have beat him, I'm like that would have been weird. And you know what? That dude, like John's not like sweating it, and even Laurel's not sweating it, and she came down to like, a putt off. I mean,
Yeah.
made a great showing, and like I felt the same way. I mean, would I have liked to have seen some like other matches on? Yeah, that'd have been great. But like I also had got to play like a bunch more holes. Like knowing people that have been on this year, like the stakes were way different.
Yeah.
Like you played last year as many holes as Kendra.
And yeah, or May. Yeah. I played 3 holes last year, and I have cut the clip, so I know, and I'm not ashamed to say it is somewhere in the vicinity of 22 seconds long. And that was all of my expense and effort and, my expulsion of time and energy. It amounted to 22 seconds of television, but that's all right, because they're making a show, and we're all working. It doesn't feel like it always. We're all working to make this show great. That's why you go on this show. You want it to be fun for everybody to watch. And so if you end up getting relegated to 22 seconds, well, that's storytelling, and it happens. Don't take it personally.
Well, and they fixed that even this year. You can tell where they really wanted to like get into people's stories, and they're making a TV show for the first time ever. Like mini golf has never been on TV in any fashion like this. When it was on TV for the PPA tournaments and the skins matches, like way back, in the 70s and 80s, it was like a whole different type of show. I mean, that was, I think, the thing that we had all talked about when we were out there was there's literally nothing like this on TV. And I think even if last year, because there were a lot of people, it was really hard sometimes when it would clip to commercials, like what was going on. And and that was, I think, from a lot of friends' perspectives, it was still, like it was still something where it was like, whoa, this is like not like anything else on, and this is super interesting watching these people play this wild, contraption. But yeah, I guess I'd love to line up the episode, but I guess the thing that I'd like to always ask our Holey Moley alums that come on all of our episodes are two questions. The first is, you've watched all the episodes this season, I assume.
Yep.
And so what would be the hole that you would want to play out of all that you've seen?
Now, all right, this is gonna seem like the easy answer for several reasons, especially if you know me and you're watching this. Uranus, 100%, because that structure before we all got there, that was one of the few things that had sort of seeped out before the game started, before filming started, was an image of the Arc de Tri Golf, which has now been repurposed into Uranus. And I think a lot of us thought like that was sort of the pinnacle of what Holey Moley was. It was this big giant, and not that what we did was not big giant crazy mini golf stuff, but I mean, that is such an imposing image, that hole. And whatever, the planets don't bother me. If I feel like if I don't get it out in the first try, then I deserve to Skylar and Spencer the planets, whatever. I would love a crack at that thing because you look so good if you get it, and you are so entertaining whether you like it or not if you don't. And so that's why I'd pick Uranus.
I mean, the other obvious question that goes along with that I can't imagine anybody that we have on here that's played Holey Moley is, would you do it again? Is the other question. Would you do Holey Moley again?
Well, so like I said, I did not have good luck edit wise my first time around. So it would be easy to say yes, because I want to get my fair shot now that they've reformatted it to sort of do a better job of highlighting everybody and giving everybody their fair amount of airtime for all the effort you put in to go on this show. But regardless, I would absolutely never turn down an opportunity to do something of this scope, of this nature, at this level. Every bit of those factors, as intimidating as they are a draw for me. So I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I don't know anybody. I mean, I think there's like a handful of people that, like you alluded to, that had like a weird experience and feel whatever about it. But I think even people that like won are just like, I want to play that thing again. It was just like such like a rush to like see that spectacle. And at night, just out there's nothing that can describe this like canyon set, dark at night, everything's so well lit. I mean, I've never I've never consumed anything that has given me like the visual experience that I had out there on set. And like mentally, it just was like kind of hard for my brain to like put together. So yeah.
That's
but yeah,
that's a good word, Tom. It's the rush. And it's why it's why after losing everything I've ever done other than Smartest Guy in the Room, but whatever. I mean, I lost some of those too. But it's why I keep going back. It's the stakes make it such a thrill. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. You're competing under that at those stakes. It is something you cannot replicate anywhere else. And win or lose, it's the rush. Sorry to interrupt. You were saying.
No, I was just gonna say, I think we could probably go all night, but I'm gonna let Pat jump into it and like let's start to line up the episode because we still got a bunch to go through. But people, if they want to tune out, they can tune out. But I think we've got some fun things to talk about in addition to the episode going on in the mini golf world. So Pat, best matchup.
Yes, man. I think that this one's pretty straightforward. It's Distractor. The back and forth aces with May and Nico there. I mean, you can't get that anywhere else really with the way the holes are designed, and I think that had to have been the best matchup of the night, unless you guys have a counterpoint to that.
The finale, I mean, the literally 1 foot difference between going to a tiebreaker after hole-in-ones. But yeah, making two 12-foot putts in a row is crazy on TV.
There's almost more pressure with that because those are makeable putts. Yeah. You're going into Uranus thinking, how am I going to succeed here? And with the distractor, I mean, I could tell you there's an expectation that you make the putt. So I think that set it up, which I guess then kind of makes a counterpoint though it is, what would we actually say the best putting was on the episode? Because I think there was a couple contenders this episode, which we haven't seen necessarily on every episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, Tom, what would you put in for our top putting performance this time around?
I think there's a few. I think Kendra, between the hole number 2 first putt and then her third putt on slip and putt, was pretty impressive. That was like a good 12, 13 foot putt that she really put the pressure on Saeed, who had just, if you look back at it, you're just like, wow, he totally blew it. If he doesn't gun that, if he just like taps that thing, it goes down wherever it is. All he needs to do is hit it in 2, and he's good, because it took Kendra 2 to get down. At the very least, he would have tied that way.
Right.
But instead, he all of a sudden, with whacking it out of bounds, had that, and Kendra just like put all the pressure on in the world. So I thought she was really impressive. And I also, Saeed himself on Putter Ducky really got another, the luck kind of broke his way in different directions, was that he had Dean get knocked off into the water, and got really lucky because Dean was not missing that next putt. It was like a foot to go in, and Saeed nailed that 9-foot putt to get a 2 and won it. And it was just like, have you ever seen anybody on Holey Moley that just like, the stakes were super, super high, and he was only going to win out if he got it, and did it. I mean, that 1-foot putt's just sitting there. That actually ended up, I think I had that twice with Jordan in the first round with Surfer Turf and Slip and Putt, that I had to sink a putt to win or to tie, knowing that he literally was a foot out. Like, if I don't make this, like, we're tying or I'm losing. So yeah, I mean, but we haven't seen that in an episode. So yeah, I don't know. Those are mine. Saeed and Kendra. I mean, May, obviously, we've discussed.
Well, I mean, May like loses a point or two for her misplay on Go For It, I think. And that's why she's not in the conversation as you presented, I think, because I mean, straight up mini golf wise, it was not a good look.
Yeah.
On Go For It.
I had Saeed out of the box, and then he blew it on slip and putt. I was like, well, all right, you're down. And then May, and then you're down. And then Kendra, I agree. Thought she was consistently good throughout with her putting.
Sure. If I had to give it to someone, I'd vote Kendra.
Some really good putting.
Yeah. So then our next two we found kind of go together, not always though, but funniest moment and then kind of the weirdest, wildest moment. They don't necessarily have to be the same thing, although we've had a couple episodes where they've kind of gone together. I think for me personally, they are different on this one, because the funniest moment was just Skylar in his 1 second on Gopher. Like I was, it just like the 1 second, the perfection of being 1.00 seconds couldn't have been achieved if he actually tried to stay on the ball for only 1 second. and that just cracked me up. But then the weird for me, like it was like this had the biggest range of crazy putting between multiple out of bounds and the hole in one at the end. Like I just grouped that all together of like that is just a weird amount of extreme things to happen in one episode.
And you also are forgetting this is the first time anybody's made it past the Porta Johns on hole 2, and the first time we saw anybody make it past the Ducks on Putter Ducky, because we didn't get to see the person who got the hole in one the first episode run by. So we had seen the only other 2 people that tried to run by get hit in, which was so funny, because that matches up with, well, for the funniest moment, I really love the behind the holes, the water hazard one where like everybody's getting shot. But my yikes moment might have been the putting on water hazard between Skylar and Spencer was abysmal. Like on all fronts, like you kind of saw what was coming on Go For It after seeing those 2 like face off. You're just like, when is this gonna end? I think, didn't Wriggle even say that? Just like, get in, like come on, like get this over with. I mean, I guess it's like a great move for them to stay on reality TV as long as they can and get their moment. But wow, like,
I mean, if I were putting a couple pennies in a hat about the yikes moment, it's Saeed absolutely blowing it from the prime position at the top of slip and putt. Yikes. I mean, tell me you didn't watch that ball fly out of bounds and say, yeah.
Well, as somebody who had the prime position on slip and putt, stay there. I mean, it was slightly different last year, but not that dramatic.
Not much. It was off too.
Just tap it the 4 feet and let it roll down the hill. What are you doing?
Yeah. See, I got to be on the other side. I won slip and putt because the guy I picked up a stroke missing from the A position. And I just was watching him line it up. I was like, what's going on here? And he ended up like hitting it halfway back to me. It was like, like the adrenaline that shot through me. It's like, I thought it was screwed. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, what happened?
I mean, I'd also like to say I won slip and putt and from the B position. Just want to say.
So they mentioned that that was one of the comments they had, and we obviously don't know what order this was all filmed, so I just assumed it was more on the current season that the person who had the A position has traditionally not done well on that hole. And now that I think about it, you guys had B, Robin had B, and she won her hole.
Yep.
What was did your Robin have the A or B position, Tom?
She had the A and she won pretty handily.
So there's a few of us who had the A, but like, I didn't realize there were that many people who had the B position who came out of it, which seems, and last year, and I can't tell, I feel like this year they changed the surface up top too, right? Like it looked.
Yes. It
like
was the same vinyl. It was vinyl, like just like the ramp is, just without glycerin up top last year. And this year they had sort of a carpet essentially.
Right. And to your point, like it's just a little up and over compared to last year. It was multiple bounce. And
last year was a triple bank to get through the legs on one shot.
Yeah, and that ball was not staying anywhere nice. For you, the second, like if you missed it. So, anyway, sidetracking on that, but I mean, God, although you talk about like not letting yourself get beat up about your performance, Saeed, man, own up to that for the rest of your life, because you got some explaining to do.
But he looked great going down the slide too. Did you see him do
Oh yeah, and he came up at the bottom great too. He like popped up out of it like he didn't just slide down a giant vinyl ramp full of glycerin.
And his jump on Putter Ducky after he landed that. And I'll jump right into the next question. Person you'd want to have a drink with, have a beer with. I mean, Saeed's going to make you a pretty good drink. I feel like he, as a mixologist. I kind of want Dean to hang out though too. I love Dean's look. Dean was just like going for it. Like, my family thinks I dress like trash and I'm gonna look like somebody from the match game in the 1970s. Who's the guy, the really loud guy that was like on the match game back in the day? I'm trying to remember his
Charles
name.
Nelson Riley.
Yeah, Charles Nelson. He was total Charles Nelson Riley. Yes.
Yes.
I want to have a drink with those two. I'd like, maybe Saeed can like make us some drinks and then come and sit down and we'll hang out. That would be my choice from this episode. Who do you want to have a drink with?
I want to spend some time with the twins. They seem like they'd be a fun hang. I mean, that's it. But I do appreciate. Yes, I mean, I'd like to put his mixology skills to the test and get something pretty good. And yeah, I like that Dean just owned the fact he's like, I'm dressing like this basically to annoy my children. I mean, that is such like a great dad move.
I'm going to also dismiss Saeed as an easy choice. I want to have a drink with May because I want to know what she's going to have. I'm curious. And also I want to know more about what the 70 tournaments are.
Wait, that was Hannah.
But Hannah was the yeah.
Oh, Hannah was 70?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, May's the teacher. May's the teacher.
Yeah.
Sorry. Then I want Hannah. I want to know what the 70 is. I want to know how she got to 70.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I guess you talked about this, but what, like, we always do what hole we'd want to play on the episode, and Randy's obviously all the way in for Uranus.
I'm all the way
deep in Uranus.
Uranus. Sorry.
I think I said go for it last time. I kind of want to play putter ducky at this point. You know what I noticed this episode? So this is like a thing where we've been there and there's like little flourishes. Like I saw a spaceman that we'll probably get to see later on Uranus, that there was a toothbrush on the other side of the ramp on putter ducky. And I was like, ooh, like I want to, like you really have to hit that ball like aggressive to get over there. But just like for me, that was such like the wonderful thing about last season, getting into those surfaces, you know, and those environments, just to get to play around and see all the little things. Like I got to see like the candy hanging from the tree from Sweet Spot, and I was like touching things, like all the PAs probably thought it was some lunatic, like, and I was just like, this is so cool. Like a lot of it's smoke and mirrors, but it looks amazing. It's just like a weird fantasy land. So yeah, putter ducky.
Yeah.
I want to live in that world for a little bit, and it looks fun to play.
That was my choice too, and especially because your first shot like is a true mini golf shot.
That's a mini golf shot.
You got a straight shot with the ramp, and you can play that, and you've got a fairly reasonable shot of getting past the ducks. I did not pick Uranus. I want to see what the planets are like first before I subject myself to them, because I'm all about like face planting and going in the water and being the entertainment. I just want to see what I'm signing up for before
I'm telling you, they're squishers like the wipeout balls. I could all but guarantee it.
So, but yeah.
Stay tuned. This is the final category Pat alluded to earlier, is ranking the winners of the 4 episodes who are going on to the finale.
Yeah. So I discredited May a little bit. And here's why, because we don't know what the finale is going to hold in terms of physical challenges. And she had, let's be honest, the gopher was not a physical challenge. She had no physical challenges. She had distractor, gopher, and an aced Uranus. So yet to see how well she handles a hole 2, a Dutch courage, a slip and putt. And that's the only reason. I still got Eric number 1 from the first episode. I got our frat boy Chris from number 2. I put May after them. The putting brings it, but she is not shown that. We don't know what she's going to do on the physical side of stuff. And then Ray from episode 2 is holding up the pack right there. So I mean, she may stay top 3 the rest of the way out. You know, we don't know what we're going to see, but that was my counterpoint to putting her first in the, you know, the high on the board in Vegas at this point.
What about you, Tom?
Uh, I I think I initially put May there. I think Pat's giving me some food for thought that she never really had to go through the gauntlet of any
Great point.
major things, but her putting was still really solid by and large. And yeah, maybe that won't matter though. If it's something really wild, that might
But
not
to your guys'
come into
point,
play.
if she doesn't get a good position, you saw what she did on Go For It. That's
Yeah,
an awful. That wasn't a straight putt. I mean, again, I discount Uranus a little bit just because hit as hard as you can and see where it comes out. But like, if she had the bad position on hole 2, are we confident that she can make it over the swales?
Oh no.
And so, like, food for thought. Now, hopefully, she proves me wrong and she goes on to win the whole thing, and I look like an idiot 10 weeks from now. But I'm doing my best sports talk show host hot take right here.
Well, that's
yeah.
the beauty of it.
No, I like
if
it.
she proves you wrong, then it's exciting television. If she proves
Yeah.
you're right, then you're right.
It's true.
There you go.
Yeah, so that gets us through the episode. I made notes about thoughts for the next episode because we already know who our guest is. We did a little sleuthing and pay attention to some of our mini golf friends' content online, and we knew that one Carl Barth from Wisconsin was going to be on this season, and
You're
it
having
was
him on?
confirmed that he'll be on next week. We're having him on next week.
Oh!
All that we know, he's shared it a bunch, is that he really eats it on Volcano. So after the episode airs and we get to talk about that, we're gonna have him on and we're gonna chat about how it all went for him, and hopefully for his case he won. If you don't know Carl, he does a mini golf reviews website. He does he did a fundraiser that a couple of us took place in. He works at a mini golf course outside of Milwaukee and is another fellow mini golf fanatic. And so that'll be interesting to chat with him next week. Kind of on my list of other things to talk about within the episode, if you were paying very close attention, we knew this all ourselves, but our good friend Aaron Kaminsky, O Street Mini Golf, made the opening cut. And not to give anything away, but it's public thing. It's like, what was Aaron wearing, guys? I don't know if you caught that, but Aaron was wearing a suit. He was wearing a big, heavy suit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right.
So we are planning on having the O Street guys coming on later this season, and I'm really curious to hear from Aaron about that experience, in addition to all the O Street stuff. So stay tuned for that. That'll be down later this season. Couple other notes I had that I don't want to lose because the distractor was so interesting. It was like, like I thought about Laurel's win on it, and then I went back. Of the 12 distractors played, because there was 10 last season, 9, as far as I understand, without misgendering anybody, 9 of the 12 were female identifying winners.
Wow.
So Pat, the fact that you lost is like actually is par for the course, I guess. Like that, like the only winners were
Garbage man.
The garbage
man,
Oh,
he won.
Yeah,
he won.
Oh, I didn't count you know what? I forgot about him. I was thinking about last year. So last year was funny enough. I thought you were referring to the other garbage guy that won last year.
Are we talking about a tracksuit here?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But it's funny. So there's 2 garbage men that won. Clark, who is the fireman. And then who did I have as my other person? I had one other guy that had won it, and I lost it in my notes. Come on. Anyways, there wasn't many people like that. That was pretty common. So Nico, luck was working against you from the beginning.
That's interesting, but it's strong enough of a stat to not necessarily be like an anomaly. That's weird. That's interesting.
That's all right. I have the only distinction though of losing on that hole without actually putting on the regular carpet.
Yes, you
It's
do.
true.
Your
That's
ball never
true.
touched the darn green.
Nope. We
No.
had the red carpet, which turned it into a complete crapshoot at that point in time. That was in terms of sore points. That's the only thing I'm sore about. I was like, you could have
fair.
just let me put on the regular carpet.
I feel like I have to confirm this on my phone, but I'm pretty sure that Saeed, the thing that blew me away, he's a mixologist, but I think that I saw that his Instagram account, he has like 24,000 followers. It's a heck of a bartender. Good on you, Saeed. Like I caught
Worlds
that.
I don't understand.
I don't mean to
20
discredit him, but the Mohawk plays a part.
Yeah. Oh,
If you had that bartender, you'd be like, "Oh, look at this cool bartender," wouldn't you? I would.
Smart
yeah,
business.
I don't
move.
put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Especially
other notes
like
that
he's so tall and his pants are so tight. I could see the appeal from multiple angles.
Also, is potentially Dean versus Saeed first round the best fashion match
Yeah.
this season? Like both of them, like on point.
The season, I don't know. The episode for sure.
The episode for sure, but like they both had like crazy style. Like I loved it. Like that. I'm glad they started off the episode with that. What else do I have here? I have stuff about other mini golf stuff. Pat, so Pat and I've been mentioning the last couple of weeks that there is a new other competitive mini golf show that's popped up called Hardcore Mini Golf. That's on the Rooster. Oh my God, why am I forgetting the name? There's like a network of people making like goofy shows, a lot of video game humor and all that. But it's Hardcore Mini Golf. They're from Austin, Texas. Did you watch that at all, Pat?
I haven't watched. I haven't had a chance to yet.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. I'm curious to see what the future episodes look like. They're kind of going for a Holey Moley vibe, but I don't know how much it works as much. So we could talk about that later. I'm really excited. Of course, the Rob and I've been playing at Big Thrill Factory has got a thumbs up that they're opening a week, in less than a week. They're going to be opening up on the 17th of June. They're going to be running at really low capacity. So if you're in Minnesota, book a time and go support them, give them your money. Both the courses have been repainted, look great, and they play well. So yeah, I'm gonna hold off sharing the list of like courses that I went through on a couple of putts this week and updated them to being closed permanently, because that was like a bummer. And just encourage people. There's lots of cool mini golf courses out there in whatever city you live in. Support them if you like them, especially right now. They are struggling. Most mini golf courses this pandemic are seeing like 10 to 25% of their business, and yeah, that's no easy feat to survive it. So throw them some extra money.
I hope to get to the course for the first time in 2020 next week. And
Nice.
some good news here. I have heard rumor and discussion that our local course that we hold our tournament on, Matterhorn Mini Golf, might be running their league this summer as well. Starting
Really?
first week in July. Yeah, so there's
All my travel plans are canceled, so
I believe it's gonna be Tuesday nights. Junior's dry, you know. It's not that far from you.
that's
yeah,
a
I know.
conflict.
Well,
No.
I was just gonna
thinking,
I was
like,
gonna lead in. What's going on Tuesday nights, Randy? I think this should be
No.
So
publicized.
until that point in time, you should be spending your Tuesday nights with Randy doing.
Well, right. If you are not local to Canton, Connecticut, so I run an online. Well, it's currently online. It's normally at a bar on Long Island, but I run a weekly trivia. I've been keeping it kind of short and sweet in the remote trivia space because I don't really know. I don't want to like suck up too much people's time. I don't know. I just want people to have fun with it. So at 7 o'clock Eastern time, every Tuesday PM, 7 p.m. Eastern, I do a online trivia. It's 3 rounds. It lasts like 70 to 75 minutes. And it's just fun. It's just meant to be fun. There's no real prize. There's no, it just if you like answering questions or you like having something to do for an hour and change, stop on by. Be happy to have you. It's called Trivia Smash. I should say that so they could find it after all that. Trivia Smash on Instagram and Facebook. Easy to find. Yeah, that's it.
It's super fun. You can get a group of friends together on Zoom, answer the questions together on a score sheet and turn it in like you were doing trivia at a bar, except in this case, like there's a group of us that were Holey Moley alums that are playing together in 3 different states. So join on in, compete against us, have fun. And yeah, I think, yeah, anything else, Pat, that's going on that you can think of? We're going long this week. We got technical difficulties.
That is 100% my fault. You'll never ask me back.
Well, this is what happens when we get talking about it like Holey Moley with us, that there's just so many things about everything on the show that you just don't see everywhere else. And for like big mini golf fanatics, it's just like, yeah, I mean,
it's easy
this
to
is a
go
thought
on.
that, and this is just a thought before, like, so you know what the right response should be if someone aces Uranus? Why didn't anybody run up the ring? Just like run up the damn thing. It's at a different angle this year. Like, I'm sure someone in production would be just like, you were gonna break this thing that took us so long to make. But I would have like ran up that thing and just like dove into the water after I got into the other end if I got a hole in one. Could you imagine that? Oh my, that would be like the moment. And I don't think we even really gave it enough. But like, go back and watch this week's episode. They did even a split screen video of the ball going in and showing May, and she kind of looked like it was losing her attention, which maybe there's like a subtle within the episode, all of this like social media, younger generation can't keep their attention kind of thing, that maybe she's part of that, and there's some like weird deep joke that they were playing. But just watch it. It's the craziest thing. If you ever got a hole in one like that on that crazy of a hole and you did not, and you had that response and I was there, I would be just like flabbergasted. Like Kendra's response was more animated.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is what happens when we talk Holey Moley. I have a feeling we're gonna have Randy back again this season at some point. We have lots of people want to have guests, but I think it's going to make sense to talk about all these different fun episodes. But for now, yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours.
I know. Yeah, like I said, sorry for whatever part I have in that, but thank you guys so much for having me on. You guys know I could talk about this stuff forever, so thanks for giving me an outlet.
Thanks, Randy.
Yeah, well, for this is what happens when you come up with a long name. We're gonna need a bigger windmill. Episode 4. My finger cut off there. Episode 4 is in the books. Thank you all for joining. We'll be here next week, probably around the same time, but stay tuned on Facebook and we'll let you know. And I'm gonna hit the